Hey YouTube, it's Pixel here, and today we're talking about Riverdale Season 2, Episode 10. I'm going to recap the episode and give some of my reactions, thoughts, and what I think is coming down the pipeline. While it is probably obvious, I just want to give a quick spoiler warning. In case you have not watched Season 2, Episode 10, there will be a ton of spoilers ahead. There is so much that happened in this episode, it's actually going to be hard to talk about and keep track of. More than just getting a lot of information and solid plot lines, there is a whole lot that I think they are setting up for in this episode. I'm not going to be talking about what happens in this episode in order. I'm going to take the specific plots that happen, talk about them in full length, and jump to the next one. So don't worry, I will get to everything that I thought was really important. This episode is titled The Blackboard Jungle. As many of you may know from the trailers, there is a group of students from Southside High that are joining the ranks of a Riverdale High. We find out that this is because Southside High is closing, and all of the students will be going to separate schools in the district, one of those schools being Riverdale. The school closed because Mayor McCoy closed it down and put it under quarantine due to fumes from the basement, which she claimed was from a meth lab. Jughead, however, makes it very clear in the episode that there was no meth being made in the basement and that it was only Jingle Jangle. We find out that Veronica has a role in her parents' latest scheme. She has joined Lodge Industries under the stipulation that she will not do anything illegal. Well, her parents want the land that's underneath Southside High. Veronica's role is to get all of the students of a Riverdale High on board with the new students from Southside joining the school. This is because the lodges know that if there is any uproar, they can't buy the space. But if no one cares, everything settles, no one will be talking about it, and Lodge Industries can buy the property. We find out that Jughead, Sweet Pea, Tony, and Fangs will all be going to Riverdale amongst some other students from Southside High. Much to my surprise, the Southside Serpents were actually really excited to go to Riverdale. I figured that they would freak out about having to be in school with the preppy kids from Riverdale High, but Sweet Pea went as far as to say that it is the best thing that's happened ever. This could also be because he mentions that Southside High doesn't have flushable toilets, so really I'd take anything after that. Some of the other students of Southside High, such as Cheryl, Reggie, and the rest of the Bulldogs, are not so thrilled that the students are there. Despite Veronica creating a welcoming committee and urging the other students of Riverdale to join her in welcoming the students coming from Southside High, Reggie takes a stand and goes against the Southside Serpents, trying to cause problems. He spray paints a snake over the school seal and tells Principal Weatherby that it was the Southside Serpents. He then lets the Serpents know that they no longer can wear their serpent jackets or have any gang-related activity or clothing at the school. Most of the Serpent members just played along. They wore their regular clothes in the next day, except for Jughead Jones, who walked through the school in his serpent jacket and was proud. He walks over to the vending machine and ends up causing a fight with Reggie and a couple other members of the Bulldogs. Of course, Fangs and Sweet Pea jumps in to help him. Principal Weatherby gives all of the boys a week of detention, except for Jughead, who gets suspended for not taking off his serpent jacket. Jughead goes to talk to his father, F.P. Jones. He tells FP that he is not willing to take off his jacket because that means shedding his skin. FP tells him that he does not have to shed his skin and not be a serpent, but instead, he can hide in the tall grass without his jacket. What FP is really telling him is that he can hide in plain sight like a snake does. So Jughead takes his father's advice, puts on appropriate clothing, and shows up to school the next day. He starts a club, and it is all by the books, but it is a way for the Southside Serpents to be inside Riverdale and still be themselves. Also, I just want to point out Sweet Pea rocking a turtleneck. The next big plot point that happens is that Archie Andrews is approached by an FBI agent. This agent needs Archie's help in taking down Hiram Lodge, and to get Archie to help, he all but directly threatens his father, Fred Andrews. Archie's first task with this FBI agent is to find out exactly what happened to Nick St. Clair when he left Riverdale. We all know that he was in an accident, and we are left to believe that Hiram was involved. Well, this FBI agent seems to think the same thing and wants Archie to get to the bottom of it. Archie gets the feeling that the FBI agent might be right about Hiram and Nick St. Clair. When he brings up Nick at a dinner with the Lodges, things get a little suspicious. Archie goes to Cheryl in hopes to get information about Nick St. Clair. Also, Cheryl is trying to blackmail Archie because she knows that Archie and Betty kissed, and she knows that Veronica has yet to find out. But I guess that everyone else is ignoring the Archie kiss, including Archie and Betty. When talking about Nick St. Clair, Cheryl made it very clear that she burned the check and that she wished she had more money from him, but also she lets it slip to Archie that this same thing almost happened to Veronica, and Archie was not happy. Archie and the agent that he's working with come up with a plan. He's going to go to visit Nick St. Clair under the ruse that he is there to get Cheryl a check, which he also does, but he's also trying to get information from Nick St. Clair on what really happened, because we all know it wasn't a skiing accident. Things get heated, however. Archie finds out no information and ends up attacking Nick. He gets the agent to agree that Archie himself, Veronica, and Archie's father, Fred Andrews, will all be under protection from the FBI when things start to go down if he continues to help. We also get a snippet of him asking the agent if he thinks that they really caught the Black Hood. A theory that has been circulating since the last episode, episode 9, is that the Black Hood is not actually Joseph, and I agree. There is no way that that reveal was the final Black Hood reveal. Archie also ends up telling Veronica about his kiss with Betty, and Veronica almost immediately forgives him. Moving on to the plots with the Cooper family. Betty comes home to find that someone is in her house. As she makes her way upstairs, she finds a no longer pregnant Polly packing up the last of her things. Polly tells her that she is making a clean cut from the family and that she had already had the twins. By the way, she named them Dagwood and Juniper. Yes. I don't know. Betty accuses her of being in a cult, but lets her leave and takes back her nightlight from Polly before she goes. Betty decides that she wants to find her long-lost Cooper sibling brother that her mother gave up for adoption. And she wants to do so because she thinks that it will make her mother a little bit happier after what happened with Polly. So, Betty goes to Jughead and looks for his caseworker. Jughead gives her the information, and the caseworker finds where her brother lives. His name is Charles Smith. Behind Hal's back, Alice and Betty decide that they want to meet Charles. So, they go to the address that they were given, and they meet a man that goes by the name of Chick. Chick was not so keen on seeing them and made it very clear that he was given their names when he turned 18 and almost met them a couple of times, but he backed out. He said that he had a client coming and didn't want to see them. So, Betty and Alice left, and Alice had a total breakdown in the car and headed home. Later, Betty decides that she's going to bring her nightlight to Chick, and when she gets there, she finds that he is actually being attacked. She uses pepper spray on the attacker, and they get away. She brings him home to her house where Hal and Alice are at, and they all jump into action. Of course, they're shocked, but they help him and they lay him down into bed and let him sleep there for the night. The episode ends with Chick standing over Betty watching her sleep. I think the show is leading us to believe that Chick is going to be a bad guy, and this very well may be true. There was a theory going around that was very popular that Chick was actually involved with the Black Hood or was the Black Hood himself. And it's a theory that I was subscribed to, and I still may be. But with the show's use of red herrings, this may be a really big red herring, and we find out that Chick is actually a really good guy. Another snippet of information we kind of got in Season 2, Episode 9, and that is that Cheryl's mother is sleeping with men for money. Whether or not she's a prostitute or a lady of the night, as Cheryl called her, Cheryl was not okay with it. So Cheryl got Archie to get the money from Nick St. Clair, and she gave it to her mother. Her mother turned around and told Cheryl that she was having too much fun and was not going to stop. The last thing that I want to talk about is that I think we were given the third serpent law in this episode. If you haven't already watched my video on the initiation process for the Southside Serpents, you can check out the card here. In this video, I talk about the initiation process, and part of that is knowing all 6 serpent laws. Up until now, the third serpent law was unknown, but I think that we get this law when Jughead is talking to FP Jones. He tells FP that he cannot shed his skin, and FP tells him that he knows the rules. I think that this was one of the rules because the other ones don't match up. So go ahead and watch that video and tell me, do you think that this is the third serpent law? Leave that below in the comments. Well, everyone, I think that just about wraps up today's video. Let me know down below in the comments, what was your favorite thing from this week's episode? I think that my favorite thing was Tony stepping up to Cheryl when she was joining Riverdale. I think that it's hilarious because the two actresses in real life are really good friends. It would have been great to see how many times it took them to do that scene without laughing. As always, I'm Pixel, and I hope to catch you on my next video.